okay? Because chapter 8, we just finished in chapter 7 talking about our bone tissue, where hopefully now you've got kind of a different idea about cells and tissues of the body. And so chapter 8 is really giving us information about all 206 bones of the body. So chapter 8 is kind of, even though it looks long, it's really not. It's going to let us know that when we talk about the skeletal system, that we are looking at what's termed either the axial skeleton or the appendicular. Now, if you hear the term axial, okay, and axis, what does it make you think about? If we think of something being that axis, okay, this part right here, where we've got the skull, the backbone, all right, ribs, we're looking at our axial skeleton. Appendicular, appendix, okay, appendices, all right, we're going to be looking at these outer portions of the skeleton. So when we say the skeletal system is classified into being part of the axial or the appendicular. What it does for us, gives us our framework. It gives us the ability for the body's parts to act like a lever or a lever. All right? When you hear that term, what does it make you think about?
Simple machine.
All right? Like maybe giving us a little bit of leverage, all right, to do something. So it's what our muscles are going to help do. It's going to help give this leverage for different movement. We get protection of our organs, definitely this mineral storage, the calcium and the phosphate that we've definitely talked a lot about. The hemopoiesis. Do you remember what the term heme refers to? Blood. So in that spongy bone is where we'll get the blood cell production. Energy storage. Wait a minute, did I really mention that one? As children, this area for blood cell production within the spongy bone, okay, and I got a text message, so if you see somebody, okay. In the spongy bone, where we've got this blood cell production. In children, that's occurring in all of the spongy bone, okay? As adults, that's not the case. It becomes the yellow marrow, which is the fat. And the fat is storage, okay? Storage for energy. Once again, the parts that make it up. The bones, cartilage, ligaments, tendons. Those are the 4 parts to the skeletal system. Now, this slide and the next, very important, because this is the terminology that I want you to understand with the bones. If they say the body, the head, the neck, the margin, the angle, the ramus, the condyle, a process of tubercle, tuberosity, trochanter, epicondyle, line, crest, spine, foramen, canal, fissure, sinus, fossa, notch, fovea, groove. I want you to know what every single one of them means. Now, give you a good example. If I were to take these terms and put them on a test in, I don't know, matching form, are you going to be able to answer them? If I were to point at a bone, would you be able to tell me what that projection is? That's what I want you to know. Once again, in your syllabus, oh bless, it's hard. It's hard. That poor little leg just don't want to get right for nothing. And once again, in the syllabus, there's a list of the bones that you're going to be responsible for knowing. Okay? A lot of them you're probably already familiar with. So, just make sure that for those 2 slides, know them, understand them, learn them, take them with you. Okay, because you're going to hear them, most definitely. Another way to look at them, here's the list, the terms, and their descriptions. Just like a little definition. Think of being back in grade school and having to learn your spelling list. Okay, your spelling and your definitions. Huh? Okay, so the other part for the skeleton, if I were to give you this picture right here, I want you to be able to label it. All right? I want you to be able to tell me tarsals, carpals, humerus, femur, tibia, fibula, radius, ulna, whether I've got the frontal bone, the temporal bone, the occipital bone. I want you to be able to tell me. Okay? Once again, please don't leave class. Not my class, please. Please don't. Telling me that the femur is the humerus and the humerus is the femur, and you know, get the legs mixed up with the arms. Please. Yeah. They're very identifiable when you begin to look at them. Okay? And you definitely would not want to get them mixed up when you're in your actual chosen profession. And then if you're out in the field in your profession, I mean, if the person comes in with a broken humerus, you really wouldn't want to tell the doctor broken femur. Okay? He might not look very favorably upon that, he or she. This is the numbers of the bones. When you begin to look at the appendicular skeleton, if you learn one side, you know the other. All right? The hardest part of our skeletal system is going to be the skull and the face. All right? That is the hardest part, because if you look at bones that begin to get associated with the face, they're 22, and they are separate. If you begin to look at the right versus the left, well, it's 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay? So if you learn one side, you know the other side. But facial bones, skull bones, okay, all right? But definitely the hardest part to learn. Okay? So definitely take note of the ones that are on the list that I want you to know. When we look at the axial skeleton, with the axial skeleton, it will include the skull, the hyoid, the vertebral column, and our thoracic cage. Are you familiar with all of those? Mateen, where's the hyoid?
Oh, wait, it's not the hyoid. I know where the hyoid is.
Where's the hyoid?
In your throat.
All right. It's this bone right here. Don't hear a whole lot about it, okay? But it's like if you lift up the head, okay, it looks like little vampire teeth, It's a bone that's not articulating with anything else. It's held in place by different muscles and ligaments and so forth, and it supports our jaw. Now, one of the interesting things about that bone, if someone gets strangled, that bone is usually broken, and that's an indicator for, the medical examiner and so forth to understand that that's what took place. That strangulation was the cause of death. The ultimate cause of death is your heart stops beating. But hey, how that happens is different, okay? So, for basically the remainder of this chapter, it's giving you all the bones, okay? So, I'm not going to stand up here and read them to you, all right? There are ones that I want to point out, okay, and certain things that I want you to know, okay? So, the skull. One of the things that you need to be familiar with, you need to be familiar with sutures. Just like the term implies, when we think of a suture, we think of something kind of being sewn back up, right? And the sutures that are existing between the skull bones, that's what it looks like. It looks like things have been sewn together. Because when we look at the developing skull, when we had the fetal skull out yesterday, remember how I said one of the areas of the fontanelles that we could clearly see was what we think of as the soft spot, okay? But there's other ones that exist. As the skull develops, grows, so the brain can grow and develop, once it becomes hardened, in these areas of a suture, we've got these little bones that are present that help with the hardening process. And little remnants stay behind. And they're termed vermian bones, okay? But we end up with this overlapping of the bones, all right? And we get these sutures that have been created. And then we have, hopefully, what's ending up being nice, hard, toughened bone to protect that soft tissue of the brain, which is really kind of cool if you think about it. But there's way more to it than just that. But sutures, you've got to be familiar with, okay? And then, wow. Processes and other features of the skull. Which thing? Kind of a busy, processy features part of the skeletal system. If you think about it, these facial bones, the skull, something happens to those bones. I don't know, maybe somebody gets hit and breaks the eye socket bones or whatever. Why is it so difficult for healing to occur?
My mom did it and they're just like, it's just gotta heal itself, like they can't really put it on the face.
Can you think about what might be a difference in areas like this versus something like this? Longer bone, we've got area that we can deal with, we've got the connective tissue wrappings, we've got all this area that could be dealt with. Up here, these little teeny tiny bones, they begin to break. It's like an eggshell. It's going to be very difficult to put back together. And that's why it's hard to do stuff about it. So it is kind of interesting with these. And yes, they have a lot of processes, stuff that's hanging off of them and that sort of thing. On this list, okay, you're going to have some of these you need to be familiar with. You don't need to be familiar with the entire list, but just match it up to what's in the syllabus. Okay,